The day I received my guaranteed admission notice, the proctor found my cheat note on the spot. The whole class was in an uproar, reporters gathered to watch, and the police arrived, but they didn't know that I had already seen through this scheme long ago. Jiang Qingya, 730 points, first in the grade. The teacher's excited voice echoed through the classroom, and the students broke into enthusiastic applause. I calmly stood up from my seat, ready to go up on stage to receive the award. Just then, a clear voice rang out, "Teacher, I'm reporting her. Jiang Qingya cheated." The whole class fell silent in an instant, and everyone's gaze turned to the speaker, the new transfer student, Lin Shiyu. She wore an expression of righteous indignation, yet in her eyes flickered the viciousness I knew all too well. "What did you say?" The teacher frowned. Lin Shiyu stood up, her voice trembling. "I saw with my own eyes that she brought cheat sheets into the exam room. This exam is unfair." The classmates began whispering among themselves, and I watched all of this with a cold eye. "Interesting. I've seen this script before. Shiyu, you need evidence when you speak." Su Zixuan, who was sitting beside me, said with a frown. He was my childhood friend, my childhood sweetheart, and also the person Lin Shiyu secretly had a crush on. "I have evidence," Lin Shiyu said excitedly. "I saw her take a note out of her backpack, and," her voice suddenly grew softer, "I think there must be something wrong, since her grades are always so good." I laughed. This reason is truly refreshingly unconventional. "Class, quiet." The teacher tapped the desk. "Lin Shiyu, if you don't have conclusive evidence, casually accusing a classmate comes with consequences." "I'm not falsely accusing her." Lin Shiyu's eyes turned red, and her pitiful expression moved quite a few of the boys. "Teacher, I know Jiang Qingya's family is rich and powerful, but is cheating like this really fair? What about us ordinary students?" As soon as she said that, the atmosphere in the classroom changed instantly. Several students began to whisper among themselves, "Yeah, Jiang Qingya's family is so rich. Could it really be that? I knew there was a reason she always gets first place, so that's how it is." Lin Shiyu is right. This isn't fair to us. Su Zixuan's expression darkened. "Enough. What gives you the right to talk about Qingya like that, Brother Zixuan? I know you're protecting her, but..." Lin Shiyu looked at him with tear-filled eyes. I really saw it. I watched this farce and sneered inwardly. Lin Shiyu was trying to kill two birds with one stone, smearing my reputation while also winning favor with Su Zixuan. Unfortunately, she didn't know I had already been prepared. "Since you say I cheated, then let's let the facts speak for themselves," I said calmly. "Teacher, I request access to the exam hall surveillance footage." Lin Shiyu's face instantly turned pale. Are you trying to destroy the evidence?" "Destroy evidence?" I raised an eyebrow. "The surveillance footage belongs to the school. How am I supposed to destroy it? Or are you feeling guilty?" "Why would I feel guilty?" Lin Shiyu said, forcing herself to stay calm. "I didn't do anything wrong." The teacher thought for a moment. "All right, I'll apply to have the surveillance footage retrieved right away. Everyone go back to the classroom and wait for news." Just as the teacher was about to leave, there was suddenly a commotion outside the door. Several people in uniforms walked in, led by a middle-aged police officer. "Which one of you is student Jiang Qingya?" the police officer asked. I stood up. "I am. Someone has reported that you cheated on the college entrance exam. Please come with us." The whole class was stunned, and Lin Shiyu looked even more shocked. "The police? How could this be?" I knew in my heart that this was absolutely no accident. Someone was pulling the strings behind all this, trying to completely destroy me. "Officer, may I ask who made the report?" I asked calmly. "Well," the police officer glanced at the documents in his hand. "The reporter said they saw you bring cheating tools into the exam room, and there is conclusive evidence." "What evidence?" Su Zixuan asked hurriedly. At that moment, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Zhao Meili, Lin Shiyu's stepmother. She held an envelope in her hand, looking triumphant. "The evidence is right here." She took several photos out of the envelope. They clearly showed me outside the exam hall taking a small slip of paper out of my bag. "My daughter Shiyu took these," Zhao Meili said. She didn't want to report it at first, but when she thought about how unfair this would be to the other students, she finally summoned the courage to speak up. Lin Shiyu lowered her head, looking as if she had been forced into it. I just thought competition should be fair." As soon as the photo was released, the whole class completely exploded. "Oh my god, she really cheated. Jiang Qingya usually seems pretty upright. I never expected. Rich people are just different. Even cheating is so brazen." Su Zixuan's face turned dark and livid. "Impossible. Qingya would never cheat." "Zixuan, the photos are right here. Are you still going to protect her? A hint of satisfaction flashed in Lin Shiyu's eyes, but she quickly put on a wronged expression. The police officer looked at the photos. Classmate Jiang Qingya, do you have any explanation for this? I took the photos and examined them carefully, and in my heart I had already understood the whole outline of the scheme. This photo really is me, but this photo has a problem, I said calmly. What problem? The police officer asked. The time. I pointed to the timestamp on the photo. This photo shows it was taken at 8:45 a.m., but our exam started at 9:00. At 8:45, I was still in the classroom studying. Lin Shiyu's expression changed slightly. Maybe the time is inaccurate. Is the time inaccurate? I laughed. Then we can pull up the school surveillance footage and compare the times, Zhao Meili hurriedly said. Surveillance footage can be faked, but photos can't. You're right, I nodded. So I suggest the officer conduct a direct body search. If I really cheated, there would definitely be other evidence on me. As soon as I said that, Lin Shiyu and Zhao Meili both froze. They clearly hadn't expected me to voluntarily request a body search. The police nodded. All right, then let's proceed with a body search now. Wait, Lin Shiyu suddenly shouted. I just remembered. She may have already gotten rid of it. Gotten rid of it? I looked at her with a faint smile. Then we should search her even more thoroughly and see whether I still have any other evidence on me. The body search began quickly. The police carefully checked my clothes and backpack, and even my shoes were not spared. As expected, nothing was found. No cheating tool was found. The police announced the result. Lin Shiyu's face turned pale. How could that be? I clearly saw. What did you see? I looked at her coldly. Or are you saying you've been lying from the start? I'm not lying. Lin Shiyu was so anxious that tears welled up in her eyes. I really saw it. At this moment, the teacher walked in holding a document. I just want to confirm it. Jiang Qingya received her direct admission qualification to Peking University half a month ago, so she doesn't need to take the college entrance exam at all. The whole class erupted in uproar once again. Direct admission. The students looked at each other in confusion. If she's already been admitted, why did she still take the mock exam? Someone asked. I said calmly, because I want to know my true level. Besides, I also want to see how certain people will perform. Lin Shiyu panicked completely. Impossible. How could you possibly get in through recommendation? Why not? I took out my phone and pulled up the electronic version of Peking University's admission notice. This is the confirmation letter Peking University sent me. It has detailed admission information on it. Seeing the admission notice, everyone fell silent. A student already guaranteed admission to Peking University really had no need to cheat. The police officer looked at the notice, then at the photo. There's obviously something wrong with this report. Jiang, you can file a counter-complaint against malicious false reporting. I will. I looked at Lin Shiyu, and I suspect this photo is doctored. You're slandering me, Zhao Meili said hurriedly. Whether I'm slandering you or not, we'll know after an appraisal. I sneered. I've already commissioned a professional agency to conduct a technical analysis of this photo. I believe the results will be out soon. Lin Shiyu's expression grew increasingly ugly. She knew her plan had completely failed. At this moment, Su Zixuan walked over to me. Qingya, I believe you. I looked at him, and a warm current surged through my heart, but soon, I remembered something else. In the original storyline, Su Zixuan would ultimately be moved by Lin Shiyu's genuine feelings, betray me, and choose her instead. If that was the case, why should I care about his attitude? Thank you, I said lightly, but the most important thing now is to find out the truth. The police packed up their things. We will further investigate this case. If we find that the report was made maliciously, we will handle it according to the law. After the police left, the atmosphere in the classroom grew unusually heavy. The looks the classmates gave Lin Shiyu were full of doubt. Shiyu, why did you do that? A classmate asked. Lin Shiyu bit her lip, her eyes full of unwillingness. I just wanted fair competition. Fair competition? I sneered, using fake photos to frame a classmate. Is that your idea of fairness? I didn't fake anything. Lin Shiyu screamed hysterically. Why are you better than me? Why do you get to be recommended for admission to Peking University? How am I any worse than you? Her words fully exposed the jealousy in her heart. Her classmates looked at her, their eyes filled with disappointment. So that's how it is, someone said. To harm someone out of jealousy is too terrible. I thought she just had a strong sense of justice, but I didn't expect she had ulterior motives. Faced with everyone's accusations, Lin Shiyu completely broke down. She cried and ran out of the classroom, and Zhao Meili hurried after her. Su Zixuan looked at me. Qingya, are you okay? I'm fine. I packed up my school bag. You, on the other hand, should be a little more careful about who you make friends with in the future. After saying that, I walked out of the classroom without looking back. I knew this was only the beginning. Lin Xiyu wouldn't let it end there. She would have other tricks up her sleeve, but I was already prepared. Since she wanted to play, I would play along with her to the very end. As I walked out of the school gate, I got a call from my father. Qingya, I heard something happen at school. It's nothing serious. It's already been taken care of. I briefly explained the situation. Good, you did the right thing. My father's voice was steady. Some people just can't stand seeing others do well, but you need to be careful. People like that usually won't let it go so easily. I know. After hanging up, I looked at the sky as the sun was setting, and a new plan had already formed in my mind. Lin Xiyu wanted to destroy me, but she didn't know that I still had more leverage over her. Next, it was my turn to make a move. Early the next morning, as soon as I arrived in the classroom, I sensed something strange in the air. My classmates were looking at me with complicated expressions: curiosity, sympathy, and even distance. Lin Xiyu sat in the corner, her eyes swollen and red, obviously having cried all night. When she saw me come in, she quickly lowered her head. Qingya, Su Zixuan stood up from his seat. Are you okay? I'm fine, I replied lightly, walking toward my seat. Just then, our homeroom teacher, Mr. Li, walked in, his expression serious. Class, I have something to say about what happened yesterday. The classroom instantly fell silent. After the school's investigation, it has been confirmed that Jiang Qingya indeed has already received a direct admission qualification from Peking University. So there is no possibility of cheating. Teacher Li glanced at Lin Xiyu. As for the so-called evidence photo, technical analysis has confirmed that it was indeed fabricated. The whole class was in an uproar. Synthetic, so that means Lin Xiyu was really lying. That's too much. She actually fabricated evidence just to hurt someone. Lin Xiyu's face turned as pale as paper, and she stood up trembling. Teacher, I didn't know the photos were fake. It must be my stepmother. Enough. Teacher Li interrupted her. No matter who did it, as the person who reported it, you must bear the corresponding responsibility. Teacher, I really didn't know. Lin Xiyu burst into tears. At that moment, Su Zixuan suddenly stood up. Teacher, Xiyu may really not have known. After all, the photos were brought out by her stepmother. I turned to look at him, sneering inwardly. Sure enough, he had started speaking up for Lin Xiyu. Zixuan is right, another male classmate said as he stood up as well. Xiyu is usually pretty nice. Maybe she really was being used by someone. Exactly, she looks so innocent. She probably wouldn't hurt anyone on purpose. I listened quietly to all these excuses being made for Lin Xiyu, and my heart grew colder and colder. This is the power of the White Lotus. Clearly she did something wrong, yet there are always people defending her. Classmates, I stood up. I want to say a few words. The classroom fell silent again. First of all, whether the photo was composited by Lin Xiyu herself, I don't want to jump to conclusions. But, my voice turned stern. The matter of falsely accusing a classmate of cheating was indeed done by her. Qingya, you, Su Zixuan tried to interrupt me. Let me finish. I looked at him. No matter who made the photo, it was she who personally accused me of cheating. If she were truly innocent, why wouldn't she find out what happened first instead of rushing to condemn me? Lin Xiyu cried even harder. I thought. What did you think? I looked at her coldly. You thought that because my family is wealthy, I must have cheated. You thought you could ruin me with just your one-sided words. I didn't think that. Is there none? I took out my phone, opened an audio recording. Then how do you explain this? Lin Xiyu's voice came through the recording. A kid from a rich family like Jiang Qingya, with such good grades, there must be something fishy. I have to expose her and let everyone see her true colors. The whole class was shocked. When was this recorded? Someone asked. At noon yesterday, I said calmly. I happened to pass by when Lin Xiyu was making a phone call in the restroom. Lin Xiyu's face turned deathly pale. You eavesdropped on my phone call. Not eavesdropped. Just happened to hear it. I looked at her, and I thought it was necessary to keep the evidence. As it turns out, my decision was right. Su Zixuan looked at Lin Xiyu, his eyes full of disappointment. Xiyu, why did you do that? I just... Lin Xiyu was at a loss for words. Teacher Li shook his head. Lin Xiyu, your behavior has already constituted malicious false accusation. The school will give you the corresponding punishment. Teacher, I know I was wrong. Please give me one chance. Lin Shiyu knelt down. Seeing her kneel, several boys in the class began to soften again. Teacher, she knows she was wrong, so please forgive her this once. Yeah, she's still just a child. Watching this scene, my heart went completely cold. Even with the evidence right there, there were still people speaking up for her. That's the terrifying thing about a White Lotus. Classmates, I stood up again. I want to ask everyone a question. If the person falsely accused today weren't me, but any one of you, would you still forgive her so easily? The classroom fell into silence. What does the accusation of cheating mean to a student? Everyone knows that, if it weren't for the fact that I had a recommended admission qualification, if it weren't for the evidence I prepared in advance, the one whose future would have been ruined now would be me. I looked at the classmates pleading on Lin Shiyu's behalf. Do you think such malicious harm can be offset by a simple, "I know I was wrong"? Su Zixuan frowned. Qingya, don't be too nitpicky. Shiyu already knows she was wrong. Nitpicky? I let out a cold laugh. If she had succeeded, I'd probably already have been torn apart by online abuse. Su Zixuan, do you think this is a minor matter? I didn't mean that. That's exactly what you meant. I cut him off. In your heart, her tears are more important than my reputation. After saying that, I packed up my things and walked toward the door. Qingya, where are you going? Su Zixuan chased after me. Call the police, I said without turning around. Malicious false accusations are a criminal offense. I will hold her legally responsible. What? Su Zixuan grabbed my arm. Qingya, don't do this. She's still a student. I shook off his hand. I'm also a student. Why didn't you say she was still a student when she was hurting me? Su Zixuan was at a loss for words. Su Zixuan, I looked at him. I thought we grew up together, and you would be on my side. I didn't expect you to be bought off so quickly. I wasn't bought off. I just think, you think she's pitiful. I sneered. Can pitiful people just hurt others as they please? After saying that, I really walked out of the classroom. From behind came Lin Shiyu's crying voice. Brother Zixuan, I really know I was wrong. Please help me persuade Sister Qingya. Hearing that voice, I felt a wave of disgust rise in my heart. Sister, was she even worthy of that? When I reached the bottom of the teaching building, I took out my phone and dialed a number. Hello, Lawyer Zhang, this is Jiang Qingya. Yes, I need your help. After hanging up the phone, I looked at the classroom upstairs, and a complete plan had already formed in my mind. If Lin Shiyu wanted to play, I would play along, but this time, I would make her pay a real price. Just as I was thinking, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. Hello, may I ask if this is Jiang Qingya? I'm Wang Xiaoman, a reporter from the city TV station. We'd like to do an exclusive interview about you being maliciously framed. A glint flashed in my eyes. It seemed some people were more anxious than I was. Okay, I'd be very happy to be interviewed. After hanging up the phone, a cold smile curved at the corners of my mouth. Lin Shiyu, do you think everything will be fine? Once you ruin me, now, it's your turn to experience what it's like to be the center of attention in the whole city. I took out my phone and sent my father a text message. Dad, help me contact a few media outlets. I want to hold a press conference soon. My father texted back. It's all set. Tomorrow at 3 p.m., at the municipal government press room. Satisfied, I put my phone away. This time, I was going to make everyone see clearly who the real victim was. As for Lin Shiyu, she'd better be ready to face the judgment of public opinion. From the classroom upstairs, faint sounds of an argument drifted down. I knew the students were definitely debating this matter fiercely right now. Some would sympathize with Lin Shiyu, while others would support me, but soon, the balance would tilt completely, because I still had more trump cards that I had yet to reveal. The next afternoon, the municipal government press conference hall was packed with people. I sat on the rostrum, facing dozens of reporters below, and felt surprisingly calm. Dear members of the media, thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend this press conference. I looked at the reporters below the stage, my voice clear and forceful. Today, what I want to clarify is the matter of my being maliciously framed for cheating. The reporters below raised their voice recorders and cameras one after another. First, I want to state that I have never cheated in any exam. Second, my classmate Lin Shiyu, who framed me, has already committed malicious defamation, causing serious harm to my reputation. A female reporter raised her hand. Student Jiang, according to what we know, you have already secured an admission offer to Peking University without taking the entrance exam. Why would Lin Shiyu still frame you for cheating? You should ask her that question, I replied calmly, but I can tell everyone that, even before this, she had repeatedly questioned my achievements in public and believed that because I came from a well-off family. There must be something wrong with me, another reporter asked. Do you have proof? I took out my phone and played yesterday's recording. Lin Shiyu's vicious words echoed through the press room, and the reporters all looked shocked. From this recording, it's clear that Lin Shiyu's malice toward me was premeditated. She wasn't acting on impulse. She had long planned to ruin me. So, about that so-called evidence photo. After evaluation by a professional institution, that photo was indeed fabricated. I took out the assessment report, and the compositing technique isn't sophisticated. It clearly bears signs of malicious fabrication. The reporters below the stage began discussing it heatedly. At this point, a young male reporter stood up. Student Jiang, from what we understand, both you and Lin Shiyu, who framed you, like the same boy, is this a retaliatory incident caused by a romantic dispute? I looked at him, sneering inwardly. Sure enough, someone was trying to steer this matter toward a relationship gossip angle. Sir, I think your question is very interesting. I smiled slightly. What you mean is that because of a romantic dispute, someone can maliciously frame others. That's not what I mean. Then what are you trying to say? I cut him off. If there really was any so-called romantic dispute, that only further proves Lin Shiyu's actions were premeditated retaliation. Oughtn't such malicious harm incur legal punishment? The audience fell silent, and also, I continued, I want to correct a misconception. No matter the reason, maliciously framing someone is a criminal act. Just because it involves feelings doesn't mean the standard for determining illegal behavior should be lowered. An experienced female reporter nodded. Student Jiang is right. So, how do you plan to handle this matter? I have already retained a lawyer to file a lawsuit, demanding that Lin Shiyu issue a public apology and bear the corresponding legal responsibility. I looked into the camera. I hope this incident can tell everyone that the cost of malicious false accusations is severe. After the press conference ended, I received a call from my mother. Qingya, you did very well. There was relief in my mother's voice. Mom supports you. Thank you, Mom. However, my mother's tone turned serious. You need to be careful. This matter may have follow-up repercussions. I know. After hanging up, I looked at the flood of messages pouring in on my phone. The video of the press conference had already gone viral online, and the comments section was filled with voices supporting me, but I knew this was only the beginning. Sure enough, that very night, voices began appearing online defending Lin Shiyu. Some self-media accounts started posting articles saying that I was a child from a rich family using my resources to suppress an ordinary student. What's more, they even packaged the whole thing as a story of the powerful crushing the common people. As I looked at those articles, I sneered inwardly. It seemed someone really was pulling the strings behind the scenes. Early the next morning, as soon as I got to school, I realized something was off. My classmates were looking at me with even more complicated expressions, and some had even started avoiding me. Qingya, Su Zixuan walked over, his expression complicated. About yesterday's press conference, wasn't it a bit too much? Over, I looked at him. I'm just defending my own rights, but Shiyu is in a very difficult situation right now. Her family is blaming her, and her mother even hit her. So what? I asked coldly. I should soften my heart and withdraw the lawsuit against her. That's not what I meant. You mean exactly that? I interrupted him. Su Zixuan, when did you become so saintly? I just think that, as classmates, there's no need to go this far. I looked at him, completely disappointed. Then when she framed me, why didn't you tell her to think of our classmate bond? Su Zixuan was left speechless by my question. At this moment, Lin Shiyu ran over crying. Sister Qingya, please forgive me. I really know I was wrong. She dropped straight to her knees in front of me, drawing a wave of shocked gasps from the students watching nearby. Get up, I said coldly. I won't get up, Lin Shiyu cried, tears streaming down her face. Not unless you forgive me. The onlooking students began to murmur. Shiyu has already knelt down, and Jiang Qingya still won't forgive her. That's a bit too much, isn't it? She's already like this. Exactly. Why be so aggressive? I watched these remarks and a wave of anger surged in my heart. Lin Shiyu was putting on another performance, and these people had once again been deceived by her tears. Lin Shiyu, I looked down at her from above. Do you think kneeling can make up for your crimes? I just want your forgiveness. Forgiveness, I sneered. If I hadn't had evidence to prove my innocence yesterday, the one kneeling on the ground now should be me, right? I really didn't mean it. I took out my phone and played the recording again. This wasn't intentional either. Lin Shiyu's vicious words in the recording left all the surrounding students stunned. Those who had just been sympathizing with her now didn't dare say a word. Lin Shiyu, let me give you some advice. I looked at her kneeling on the ground. Tears won't save you. Under the law, everyone is equal. After speaking, I walked around her and headed toward the classroom. Behind me came Lin Shiyu's crying and Su Zixuan's voice comforting her. I didn't look back, but my heart grew colder and colder. When I got to the classroom, I found several large words written on the blackboard. Jiang Qingya, a bully who abuses power. Looking at those words, I instead became calm. It seems someone is really in a hurry. I took out my phone, snapped a photo of the words on the blackboard, and sent it to the class group chat. Soon, homeroom teacher Mr. Lee rushed over. Who wrote this? Mr. Lee asked, his face dark with anger. No one answered. Good, Teacher Lee said coldly. Since no one is admitting it, then we'll check the surveillance footage. If you maliciously slander your classmates at school, I think you must not want to graduate. At this moment, a girl who usually got along well with Lin Shiyu stood up. Teacher, I wrote it. Why? Teacher Lee asked. I think Jiang Qingya went too far. Shiyu has already apologized, and she still wants to drive her to ruin. Shut up, Teacher Lee roared. What right do you have to judge your classmates? Lin Shiyu maliciously framed others. That is criminal behavior. Jiang Qingya is defending her rights according to the law. What's wrong with that? The girl who had been scolded lowered her head. And also, Teacher Lee looked at the whole class. I warn everyone. No one is allowed to gossip about this behind their backs. Whoever dares to maliciously smear a classmate again will be expelled on the spot. The classroom fell into complete silence. I sat in my seat, but I didn't feel the slightest sense of victory. I knew that although Teacher Lee supported me on the surface, many people would still sympathize with Lin Shiyu in private. That was the terrifying thing about a White Lotus. Even when she did something wrong, there would always be people making excuses for her, but I didn't care. What I wanted was not these people's understanding, but to make Lin Shiyu pay the price she deserved. At noon, I received a call from the lawyer, Miss Jiang. The other lawyer contacted me. Lin Shiyu wants to settle privately. What are the terms? A public apology, and 100,000 yuan in compensation for emotional distress. Not enough, I said coldly. In addition to a public apology and compensation, I want her to transfer schools. This, Attorney Zhang, I didn't pay you to convince me to settle. I interrupted him. If you think this is difficult, I can change lawyers. No, I understand what you mean. I'll pass it on to the other side. After hanging up the phone, I looked at the sunlight outside the window, and a firm resolve surged in my heart. Lin Shiyu wants to destroy me, then I'll let her taste what it feels like to be destroyed. This world has never been fair. Since she wants to play, I'll play with her to the end. 3 days later, an explosive piece of news spread across the internet. Lin Shiyu's stepmother, Zhao Meili, was exposed as a member of a certain fraud ring, specializing in fabricating false evidence to help people fight lawsuits. As soon as the news came out, the internet instantly exploded. Wow, so he's a habitual offender after all. So that photo really was fake. Jiang Qingya was really framed. The whole Lin Shiyu family are no good. I looked at the comments online and sneered inwardly. Of course, I was the one who leaked this news. If I wanted to completely defeat Lin Shiyu, I had to cut off all her escape routes. Sure enough, more explosive dirt was soon exposed. Someone dug up Lin Shiyu's dark history from her previous school, framing a classmate for dating too early, secretly altering report cards, bullying transfer students. Oh my god, this Lin Shiyu is practically a demon. I used to think she was the victim, but I never expected her to be a repeat offender. Jiang Qingya didn't pursue her legal responsibility, which was already merciful enough. The public opinion had completely reversed. That afternoon, I was reading in the classroom when Su Zixuan rushed in a hurry. Qingya, those messages online, were they posted by you? His face was pale. What news? I asked without looking up. About Shiryu, those scandals. Oh, you mean those? I put down the book and looked at him. What? Is there a problem? Are they all true? What do you think? I asked back. If it were fake, why wouldn't she come out and clarify it? Su Zixuan was left speechless. Su Zixuan. I stood up. Let me ask you a question. If these rumors are fake, she could have sued the person spreading them. Why didn't she do that? Maybe it's because her current situation is very difficult, or is it because all of this is true, and she simply has no way to clear her name? I cut him off. Su Zixuan's face grew even more grim. Even if all of this is true, but her situation is already miserable enough. The internet is full of people cursing her, and she can't even go to school anymore. So what? I asked coldly. I should soften up and withdraw the charges against her. Qingya, Why have you become so heartless? Su Zixuan said painfully. You weren't like this before, me before. I laughed. I really was foolish before, always believing that everyone was kind, but Lin Shiyu taught me that some people are just vicious and not worth sympathizing with. But, no buts, I cut him off. Su Zixuan, if you think she's pitiful, you can go comfort her, but don't come and try to persuade me to let her off. Qingya, we grew up together, because we grew up together. I'm so disappointed in you. I looked at him. When I was falsely accused, the first thing you thought of wasn't to believe me, but to urge me to forgive her. Now that she's been exposed, you're coming to ask me to let her off again. Su Zixuan, what exactly do I mean to you? Su Zixuan was left speechless by my question. Forget it, I waved my hand. We have nothing more to say. After saying that, I packed up my things and left the classroom. After I walked out of the teaching building, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. Hello, is this Jiang Qingya? I'm a reporter from the Legal Evening News. We'd like to do an in-depth report on the case in which Lin Shiyu maliciously framed you. Okay, I have time. After hanging up, a cold smile curled at the corner of my mouth. It seemed the media had already caught the scent of a hot story. Good. I'm going to make this matter a national focus. I want everyone to see the consequences of maliciously framing others. That evening, I gave an interview at home to a reporter from the Legal Evening News. Classmate Jiang, what do you think about the dark history of Lin Shiyu that's been exposed online? I think this shows one thing, I said, looking into the camera. Every evildoer has their match. The bad things you've done will one day be exposed. Do you think the online abuse she's facing now is too severe? Online abuse? I let out a cold laugh. When she falsely accused me back then, did she ever think about what I would have to endure if I hadn't had the evidence to prove my innocence? The one enduring online abuse right now would be me. So you think this is karma? I think this is retribution. I nodded. You reap what you sow. After the interview ended, the reporter packed up the equipment. Classmate Jiang, your stance is very firm, but I want to remind you, public opinion is a double-edged sword. I know, I said calmly, but some principles cannot be compromised. If I let her off today just because of her tears, tomorrow more people will think there's no cost to maliciously framing others. The reporter nodded. You're right. The next day, a feature report in the Phase Wanbao was published, titled, The Truth Behind a Girl's Malicious False Accusation of a Classmate. The article analyzed Lin Shiyu's psychological motives in detail and cited a large number of experts' views, pointing out the harmfulness of malicious false accusations to society. The article had a huge impact and was quickly reprinted by other media outlets. Lin Shiyu's name was completely ruined. That afternoon, I ran into Lin Shiyu at the school gate. She was wearing a mask and a hat, clearly trying to avoid drawing attention. When she saw me, her body visibly trembled. Qingya sister, her voice was very soft. What's the matter? I asked coldly. I want to talk to you. What about? Please, spare me. Lin Shiyu started crying. I can't even go to school anymore. The internet is full of people cursing me. My mom wants to cut ties with me, and my dad won't even talk to me. And then, I said expressionlessly, I know I was wrong, and I'm willing to do anything to make it up to you. Anything. I looked at her. Then are you willing to publicly admit that you falsely accused me before out of jealousy and malicious revenge? Lin Shiyu's expression changed. So you still refuse to tell the truth. I turned to leave. Wait. Lin Shiyu hurriedly grabbed me. I'll say it. I admit it. I'm jealous of you. I'm jealous that your family is well off, that your grades are good, and that so many people like you. I stopped in my tracks and turned to look at her. Go on. I didn't like you from the first day I transferred here. I thought you were only this outstanding because your family is rich, so when I saw you with Su Zixuan, I got even more jealous. So you came up with this plan to frame me for cheating? Why yes. Lin Shiyu lowered her head. I wanted to ruin you and make everyone look down on you. Very good. I took out my phone. I recorded everything you just said. This counts as your official confession. Lin Shiyu's face turned pale. You recorded again? Yes. I put away my phone. I'll give this recording to my lawyer as evidence in court. No. Lin Shiyu knelt down. Please, don't ruin me anymore. I'm already miserable enough. Ruin you? I sneered. You ruined yourself. From the moment you decided to frame me, you should have known this kind of consequence would come, but I've already paid the price. Paid the price? I stared at her kneeling on the ground. Do you think a handful of abusive online comments amount to paying for your crimes? If your frame-up had succeeded, my entire life would have been destroyed. Next to the suffering I could have faced, what you're going through now is nothing at all. Lin Shiyu was left speechless by what I said. Lin Shiyu, I'll tell you one last time. I looked down at her from above. See you in court. After saying that, I left without looking back. Behind me came Lin Shiyu's hysterical sobbing, but my heart was like iron and stone, not moved in the slightest. Some people simply aren't worth sympathizing with. 1 month later, in the courtroom, I sat in the plaintiff's seat, looking at Lin Shiyu, haggard and exhausted in the defendant's seat, my heart as calm as water. Court is now in session. The judge struck the gavel. Lin Shiyu's lawyer was a middle-aged man who looked experienced. He first spoke in her defense. Your Honor, my client Lin Shiyu is just an 18-year-old girl. She made a bad decision in a moment of impulsiveness. She now deeply regrets it and has been under immense social pressure. I hope the court can deal with this leniently. My lawyer, Lawyer Zhang, stood up. Your Honor, the defendant Lin Shiyu's actions have already constituted the crime of defamation. She maliciously fabricated false evidence in an attempt to ruin my client's reputation and future. This is not an impulsive act, but a premeditated criminal act. The judge looked at me. Plaintiff Jiang Qingya, do you have anything to say? I stood up. Your Honor, I'd like to say a few words. Go ahead. First, I want to clarify one thing. Age is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. At 18, one is already an adult and should bear full responsibility for one's actions. I looked at Lin Shiyu. The defendant claims she acted on impulse, but the evidence shows her actions were a premeditated act of malicious revenge. I signaled to my lawyer to play the recording. Lin Shiyu's vicious words echoed through the courtroom, and a murmur spread through the gallery. From this recording, it is clear that the defendant's malice toward me was premeditated. This was not a momentary impulse. She carefully orchestrated this frame-up. Lin Shiyu kept her head down, her body trembling. Second, I continued, the defendant's actions caused me immense psychological harm. If I hadn't had a guaranteed admission slot, if I hadn't prepared evidence in advance, the one sitting here now might be another innocent student whose life has been ruined. Your Honor, Lin Shiyu's lawyer stood up. We admit that my client was indeed at fault, but the plaintiff's retaliation was also too intense. The online abuse my client has suffered has already far exceeded the severity of her mistake. Online abuse, I sneered. Mr. Lawyer, of all the dirt exposed on the internet, which one is false? If they're all true, how can that be called online abuse, even if it's true? But, no but, I cut him off. When the things you've done are exposed, that's getting what you deserve, not online abuse. The judge tapped the gavel. Order, continue the trial. In the following court proceedings, we presented a large amount of evidence, fabricated fake photos, Lin Shiyu's previous scandals, recordings of her own admission. Every piece of evidence pointed to the same conclusion. Lin Shiyu was a habitual offender. This time, framing me was not an accident, but a continuation of her usual pattern of behavior. Your Honor, I stood up again in my closing statement. I hope the court can render a fair judgment. She should not be easily forgiven just because the defendant is young, nor should her responsibility be excused because she is crying now. I looked toward the gallery, where many media reporters were seated. I believe that only by making malicious false accusers pay the price they deserve can we protect more innocent people from harm. The judge announced an adjournment and said the verdict would be delivered at a later date. As I walked out of the courtroom, I was surrounded by a group of reporters. Jiang, are you satisfied with today's trial? I believe the law will deliver a fair verdict. I replied calmly. If Lin Shiyu is found guilty, will you forgive her? Forgiveness is my affair. But legal responsibility must be borne. Some people say your counterattack was too intense. What do you think? I looked into the camera. I'd like to ask those people one question. If you were maliciously slandered by someone, would you choose to swallow it and stay silent? The reporters were left speechless by my question. I'm not a saint, and I'm not a punching bag. If someone wants to ruin me, I'll make her pay the price. That's called self-defense, not overreaction. After the interview ended, I walked out of the courthouse building. The sunlight was beautiful, and I was in a very good mood. My phone rang. It was my father's call. Qingya, you performed very well today. My father's voice was filled with pride. Thank you, Dad. However, my father's tone grew serious. You need to be careful. A tall tree catches the wind. You're very well known now, and people may try to take advantage of you. I know. After hanging up, I looked at the blue sky and white clouds, and a wave of unprecedented relief surged through me. No matter what the outcome was, I had already done what I needed to do, through my own actions. I proved that malicious false accusations come at a price. A week later, the court delivered its verdict. Lin Shiyu was found guilty of defamation and sentenced to 6 months in prison, suspended for 1 year, and ordered to pay me 150,000 yuan in compensation for emotional distress, as well as issue a public apology in a provincial-level media outlet. After the news broke, the internet was filled with praise. Serves her right, malicious false accusations should come at a price. Jiang Qingya really got justice for everyone who has been falsely accused, who would dare falsely accuse others so casually in the future. But there were also different voices. Is a 6-month prison sentence too harsh? She's still just a child. Was Jiang Qingya being too ruthless? I don't care about those voices anymore. I know there will always be people standing on the moral high ground and pointing fingers, but I have a clear conscience. On the day the verdict was handed down, Su Zixuan came to see me. Qingya, are you satisfied now? His tone was complicated. I'm very satisfied, I replied calmly. Shiyu is in a terrible situation right now. Her mother has cut ties with her, and her father is ignoring her too. She's living alone in a rented place now, and she has to work part-time to compensate you for your losses. And then, I looked at him. What are you trying to say? What I mean is, could you consider not taking that 150,000 yuan in compensation? I looked at Su Zixuan and suddenly laughed. Su Zixuan, do you know, the way you look right now is really ridiculous to me. Qingya, no, let me finish. I cut him off. From beginning to end, you've been speaking up for Lin Shiyu. When she framed me, you told me to understand her. When she was exposed, you told me to let her go. Now that the court has ruled, you still want me to give up the compensation. I just think, what do you think? I looked at him coldly. Do you think I should be a saint, and forgive the person who hurt me unconditionally? I didn't mean that. That's exactly what you mean. I stood up. Su Zixuan, I'm going to tell you something. Kindness has its limits, and forgiveness has its conditions. Kindness without principles isn't kindness, it's stupidity. Su Zixuan's face turned pale from what I said. Also, I looked at him. Starting today, our relationship ends here. What? Su Zixuan looked at me in shock. I said, our friendship ends here. I repeated, I don't want to be friends with someone who can't tell right from wrong. Qingya, you can't do this. I can, I said coldly. Just as Lin Shiyu can choose to falsely accuse me, I can also choose to stay away from you. After saying that, I walked away without looking back. I heard Su Zixuan calling out behind me, but I didn't turn around. Some relationships, once broken, can never go back to what they were. After the college entrance exam, I got into Peking University as I had hoped. On the first day of school, I stood downstairs in the dormitory building, watching the incoming and outgoing freshmen, feeling more relaxed than ever before. Are you Jiang Qingya? A clear voice rang out behind me. I turned around and saw a girl with a ponytail looking at me, her eyes full of curiosity. I am, oh my god, I finally get to meet you in person, the girl said excitedly. I'm your fan, my name is Su Xiaoman, and I'm your roommate. A fan? I was a little surprised. Yes, Su Xiaoman said excitedly. Don't you know, you're really popular online right now. A lot of people see you as a model for bravely defending your rights. I gave a bitter smile. I had never thought I would become famous for something like this. Come on, I'll take you to the dorm. Su Xiaoman pulled my suitcase. By the way, do you know that Lin Shiyu is doing really badly now? I heard she's studying at a vocational school in a small city now, and she still has to work every day to make money. How do you know that? There are people online who are still keeping up with this case, Su Xiaoman said, but some people also say you were too ruthless, that you ruined someone's life over one small mistake. What do you think? I looked at her. Su Xiaoman thought for a moment. I think you did the right thing. If the evil person doesn't get the punishment they deserve, then what about the good people? I nodded, and I grew to like this roommate. By the time we got back to the dorm, the other 2 roommates had already arrived. When they heard that I was the female lead of the false accusation case, they all showed great interest. Qingya, how did you think of recording it at the time? Asked a roommate named Li Meng. Instinct, I guess, I replied simply. I thought she had a problem, so I made preparations in advance. Do you regret it now? After all, you made her end up in such a miserable state. Another roommate, Wang Xiaoyu, asked. I never regret defending my legitimate rights and interests, I said calmly. At night, lying in bed, I thought of everything that had happened over these past few months. Lin Shiyu eventually transferred to a school in a small city. Su Zixuan got into Tsinghua, but we never contacted each other again. My life changed completely. I learned not to trust others so easily, learned to protect myself with legal means, and learned to show zero tolerance for malicious harm. Some people say I've become cold-hearted, but I think this is called growth. The next day in class, I encountered something interesting. In the law school classroom, the professor was discussing a case analysis of defamation, and astonishingly, it was the case involving Lin Shiyu and me. This case is highly representative, the professor said. The victim, Jiang Qingya, handled it very professionally. She did not let her emotions take over, but instead used legal means to protect her rights and interests. The students below began talking among themselves, and some recognized me sitting in the back row. This case tells us, the professor continued, that when facing malicious accusations, we should not choose to swallow our anger in silence, but should bravely wield the weapon of law. After class, the professor found me. Student Jiang, would you be willing to work with us on a study about malicious false accusations among teenagers? Yes, I nodded in agreement. Through participating in this study, I learned that cases like Lin Shiyu maliciously framing others are not uncommon, and that most victims choose to swallow their anger and keep silent, with very few persisting to the end like I did. Why are so many people unwilling to sue? I asked the professor. On the one hand, it's a cost issue, on the other hand, it's a matter of mindset. The professor explained, many people think that, when possible, be forgiving, and don't want to make a big fuss, but that just lets the bad people off easy. That's right. So your case is very valuable. It tells people that malicious false accusations come at a cost. As my research deepened, I found that this problem was far more serious than I had imagined. False accusations on campuses, online, in the workplace, all kinds of malicious false accusations kept emerging. While the victims often had nowhere to turn, I began running a column online, sharing my own experience and legal knowledge, teaching people how to deal with malicious false accusations. The column quickly went viral, and every day many people left comments sharing what they had been through. One of the comments left a deep impression on me. Qingya, thank you. After reading your story, I mustered the courage to sue the colleague who had falsely accused me. Although the process was difficult, I ultimately won the case. Now I can finally start over. Seeing comments like this made me feel that everything I had done was worthwhile. In my sophomore year, I received an unexpected phone call. Is this Jiang Qingya? This is Su Zixuan. I froze for a moment. Ever since we graduated from high school, we had never contacted each other again. What's up? I asked coldly. Qingya, I want to apologize to you. Su Zixuan's voice sounded very tired. I've thought a lot these past 2 years, and I think I was wrong back then. Oh, I replied calmly, I shouldn't have kept speaking up for Lin Shiyu, and I shouldn't have questioned your decision. He paused. I understand now that everything you did back then was right. I said nothing and waited for him to continue. Something happened to Lin Shiyu again recently. Su Zixuan gave a wry smile. At the vocational school, she falsely accused another classmate of stealing her money, but the surveillance footage exposed her. Now she's been expelled from school and is getting torn apart online again. And then, I just realized that she's a habitual offender. If you hadn't dealt with her harshly back then, she might have harmed even more people by now. I let out a cold laugh. So now you're calling to thank me. I wanted to say sorry. Su Zixuan's voice was very soft. I was too naive back then. I thought that being kind meant forgiving others unconditionally. Su Zixuan, I interrupted him. What do you want by making this call? I want to ask if you can forgive me. Can we be friends again? I stayed silent for a long time, and Su Zixuan waited anxiously on the other end of the phone. Su Zixuan, once some things happen, they can never go back to the way they were. I finally said, when I needed support the most, you chose to stand on the opposite side of me. I don't need a friendship like that. Qingya, goodbye. I hung up the phone, putting down my phone. I didn't feel much of a ripple in my mood. Let the past stay in the past. I have a new life now. In my junior year, I took part in a nationwide legal aid volunteer activity. In a small town in a remote mountain area, I met someone I never expected to see. Jiang Qingya. I turned my head and saw a haggard woman standing not far away. She was terribly thin, her face etched with the marks of time, but I still recognized her at a glance. Lin Shiyu. She looked much older than she had 2 years ago, wearing cheap clothes and carrying a worn plastic bag in her hand. It's you? I said calmly. Seeing me, a complex emotion flashed across Lin Shiyu's eyes, fear, resentment, and something else that was hard to put into words. You, how are you here? Her voice trembled. Legal aid, I replied simply. And you? Lin Shiyu lowered her head. I work here. We stood on the street, surrounded by villagers passing by. After more than 2 years without seeing each other, we had both changed a lot. Have you been doing okay? I asked. Lin Shiyu gave a bitter smile. Okay, I'm working at a small factory now, making 2,000 yuan a month, living in a communal dormitory. I work 12 hours a day and come home exhausted like a dog. That was the path you chose yourself. Yes, it was my own choice. Lin Shiyu looked at me, her eyes full of remorse. Jiang Qingya, I hated you. I really hated you. I felt that you ruined my life. I listened quietly, but later, when I once again wanted to frame someone else, when I was exposed, I finally understood that I had ruined myself. Lin Shiyu's tears fell. If you hadn't punished me so severely back then, I might have harmed even more people and fallen even deeper myself. So now you understand. I understand. Lin Shiyu nodded. I've thought a lot over these past 2 years, ever since I was little. I've been jealous of people who were better than me, always trying to elevate myself by belittling others, but doing that only made me more and more vicious. I looked at her, a complicated feeling rising in my heart. Jiang Qingya, I know you won't forgive me, and I don't expect your forgiveness either. Lin Shiyu wiped away her tears. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for not softening your heart back then. If you had forgiven me then, I would never have realized my mistake. It was your persistence that helped me see my own ugliness. I remained silent for a long time. Lin Shiyu, I said at last, everyone makes mistakes. The key is being able to recognize them and correct them. Now that you understand, that's good. Then, can you forgive me? Lin Shiyu asked cautiously. I thought for a moment and said, I can stop hating you, but forgiving you will take time. Lin Shiyu nodded. I understand. I'm already very grateful just to hear you say that. We talked for a while longer. I learned that Lin Shiyu had indeed had a very difficult 2 years. After being expelled from vocational school, she could only come to this remote little town to work. No one knew about her past, and she could start over. I reflect on my past every day now, Lin Shiyu said. I've written down all those vicious thoughts from back then in my diary to remind myself never to make the same mistake again. That's good, Qingya. Lin Shiyu looked at me. How are you doing now? Very well. I'm studying law at Peking University, and I also do volunteer work to help people who have been maliciously framed. A glimmer of light flashed in Lin Shiyu's eyes. You're helping others. Yes, I turned my own experience into a column to teach everyone how to protect themselves through the law. That's wonderful, Lin Shiyu said sincerely. You've turned something bad into something good. When we parted, Lin Shiyu bowed to me again to apologize. Jiang Qingya, I will never forget the lesson you taught me in this lifetime. I will strive to be a good person and never hurt anyone again. I believe you can do it. Watching Lin Shiyu's departing figure, a strange feeling welled up inside me. More than 2 years ago, we were sworn enemies. Now, although it still couldn't be called reconciliation, at least she had come to recognize her mistakes. Perhaps this is what growth means. After returning to Beijing, I wrote about my encounter with Lin Shiyu in the small town and published it in my own column. The title of the article was, When Enemies Become Strangers. In the article, I wrote, forgiveness is not forgetting, nor is it compromise, it is freeing yourself from hatred. When a person truly recognizes their mistakes and is making an effort to correct them, hatred loses its meaning. After the article was published, it caused a huge response. Many readers left comments sharing their own stories. Some said they decided, after reading the article, to forgive those who had once hurt them, while others said it strengthened their resolve to defend their own rights. One of the comments left a deep impression on me. Qingya Jia, I'm a college student who was falsely accused by my roommate of stealing money. After reading your story, I decided to keep pursuing legal action against her. Although many people told me to let it go, I knew that if I didn't stand my ground, she would hurt other people too. Thank you for teaching me what principled kindness means. Seeing comments like this made me feel that what I had gone through had become meaningful. In my senior year, I was admitted to Peking University's graduate school without taking the entrance exam and continued studying law. At the same time, my column became increasingly popular, and even a publishing house contacted me, hoping I could compile these articles into a book for publication. Have you thought about what you want to do in the future? My mentor asked me. I want to be a lawyer, focusing on helping people who have been maliciously framed. I replied, that's a very meaningful path. My mentor nodded. However, cases like that often take a lot of time and effort, and the financial return is not very high. I don't care about the financial return, I said. I just hope I can help those who need help. The mentor smiled with relief. Very good, legal professionals should have that kind of ideal. in my first year of graduate school, I founded a public interest organization dedicated to providing legal aid to people who had been maliciously framed. The organization was called the Clear Name Project. The first case after the organization was established was helping a civil servant who had been falsely accused of embezzlement by a colleague, lawyer Jiang. I really didn't embezzle anything, the civil servant said through tears. It was my colleague, jealous of my promotion, who deliberately set me up. I believe you. I looked at the case file, however. We need enough evidence to prove your innocence. This case was very complicated. We spent half a year gathering evidence and eventually succeeded in clearing that civil servant's name. Thank you, lawyer Jiang. The civil servant held my hand, his eyes full of gratitude. If it weren't for you, my life would have been ruined. Don't thank me. This is what I should do. As the influence of the immortality plan grew larger and larger, we received more and more pleas for help. There were students falsely accused of cheating by classmates, bosses falsely accused of sexual harassment by employees, and elderly people falsely accused of theft by neighbors. Every case was complicated, but we did our best to help them. Qingya, you really have become a hero in many people's hearts now, Su Xiaoman said. She was now my assistant, in charge of the day-to-day operations of the immortality plan. Hero, I smiled. I'm just doing what I believe is right, but your influence is great. Now many people know that malicious false accusations come at a cost. Indeed, over the past few years, cases of malicious false accusations like Lin Shiyu's have clearly decreased. When many people want to falsely accuse someone, they think of my case and the serious consequences of malicious false accusations. In my second year of graduate school, I received a special letter. The sender was Lin Shiyu. Qingya, hello. I know I have no right to write to you, but I still want to tell you a few things. I now run a small shop in that little town. Life is not wealthy, but it is peaceful. More importantly, I have learned to be a kind person. I often help the elderly in town, and I also provide free school supplies to children in need. I want to spend the rest of my life atoning for my sins and proving that I have truly changed. I do not ask for your forgiveness, but I hope you know that your insistence back then was right. It was you who saved me, and also saved those I might have hurt. Thank you. After reading this letter, my eyes could not help but grow moist. Perhaps this is the power of justice. It can not only punish the wicked, but also save them. After graduating from graduate school, I fulfilled my wish and became a lawyer, specializing in cases of malicious false accusations. The Clean Slate Project also grew into a national public welfare organization, with branches in major cities. That day, I was in the office handling a case when my secretary knocked and came in. Attorney Jiang, there's a guest outside who wants to see you. Who? He says he's Su Zixuan. I froze for a moment. Since our last phone call, we hadn't been in contact for 2 years. Let him in. Su Zixuan walked into the office, looking much more mature than a few years ago. He was wearing a well-tailored suit and looked successful in his career. Qingya, hello. He seemed a little restrained. Have a seat. I pointed to the chair opposite me. What's the matter? Su Zixuan sat down and looked at the various certificates of honor and thank you letters hanging on the wall of my office, his eyes full of complicated emotions. You're really successful now, he said. Thank you, I replied calmly. If you have something to say, just say it. Su Zixuan took a deep breath. I want to ask you for a favor. What kind of favor? My company has run into some legal trouble. A competitor has maliciously accused us of stealing trade secrets, and now it's become a big issue. I looked at him. We do take on cases like that, but why come to me? There are plenty of excellent lawyers in Beijing. Because I trust you. Su Zixuan looked at me, and I think I owe you an apology. No need to apologize. I flipped open the case file. Tell me the specifics. Su Zixuan described what had happened in detail. It was indeed a typical case of malicious framing, and the method was exactly the same as what Lin Shiyu had done back then. I'll take the case. I closed the file. But do you know our fee schedule? Money isn't a problem, Su Zixuan said. Qingya, I also wanted to say anything outside the case needn't be said. I interrupted him. We are now in a lawyer-client relationship, and nothing more. Su Zixuan looked at me, a trace of disappointment flashing in his eyes, but he quickly returned to normal. I understand. This case was indeed not complicated. Within a month, I successfully cleared Su Zixuan's company of the false accusations. The evidence that the other side had maliciously framed him was conclusive, and in the end, the court ruled against them and ordered them to pay massive damages. Thank you. Qingya, after the case was over, Su Zixuan said sincerely. Without you, my company might have been ruined. This is my profession. I was tidying up the files. Once the contract has been fulfilled, our relationship is over too. Qingya, Su Zixuan suddenly said, can you give me a chance? I stopped what I was doing and looked at him. A chance for what? A chance to start over. Su Zixuan looked at me. I know I did a lot of things wrong back then, but I've been reflecting all these years. I want to pursue you. I looked at him, my heart completely unmoved. Su Zixuan, there are some things I have to make clear. Go on. What between us ended long ago, not because you did anything wrong back then, but because we were never meant to be on the same path. I looked at him. I'm very happy for your success over the years, but that doesn't change anything. But, no buts. I stood up. Su Zixuan, go find someone who's truly right for you. I'm not. Su Zixuan was silent for a long time, then finally nodded. I understand. Then, can we at least be friends? I thought for a moment. Sure, just ordinary friends. After Su Zixuan left, Su Xiaoman walked in. Was he your ex-boyfriend? Sort of. It was a long time ago. It looks like he still has feelings for you. That's his business. I kept working on the paperwork. I don't feel anything for him. Why? He seems like a pretty good catch. I put down my pen and looked out the window. Xiaoman, do you think someone who chooses to betray you when you need support the most is worthy of trust? Su Xiaoman thought for a moment. No, exactly. Some wounds, once inflicted, can never heal. 5 years later, I had become a nationally renowned lawyer. The Project Innocence initiative had also grown into a large public interest organization with hundreds of volunteers, helping thousands of victims who were maliciously falsely accused every year. That day, I received an unexpected invitation. The sender was Lin Shiyu. Qingya, I'm getting married. The groom is an elementary school teacher from the town, a very kind person. I know I'm not qualified to invite you, but I still wanted you to know this news. Thank you for changing my life. Looking at the invitation, I couldn't help but smile. Lin Shiyu had finally found the happiness that belonged to her. I didn't attend her wedding, but I sent her a gift, a set of law books, hoping she could use legal knowledge to help more people. Soon, I received her reply. Thank you for your gift. I will study hard and, in the future, I also want to help those in need, just like you. That same year, I also found my own love. He is a doctor, kind and upright, and most importantly, he understands and supports my career. You know, he said to me, the first time I heard your story, I was deeply moved by your courage. Later, when I learned about the public welfare work you do, I was even more touched by your kindness. Don't you think I'm too domineering? I asked. Domineering? He laughed. I'd call that having principles. The world needs more people with principles like you. Our wedding was simple, but very warm. Besides family and friends, many of the clients we had helped also came to the wedding. Attorney Jiang, congratulations. An elderly man I had once helped held my hand. Thank you for giving me a second life. Attorney Jiang, without you, I'd still be in prison now, another client said excitedly. Looking at these grateful faces, I felt that my life truly had meaning. At the wedding, I gave a brief speech. Many people asked me why I chose such a thankless career path. I want to say that justice may be late, but it will never be absent. Each of us has a duty to fight for justice and to fight for the truth. Thunderous applause broke out below the stage. After the wedding ended, Su Xiaoman asked me, Qingya, do you regret being so stubborn back then? I thought for a moment and shook my head. I don't regret it. If I had to do it all over again, would still make the same choice. Why? Because justice needs someone to stand up for it. I looked into the distance. If everyone chooses to compromise, evil people will only become more and more brazen. Only when evil people pay the price will the world become a better place. Then did you ever hate Lin Shiyu? I did, I answered honestly, but I don't hate her anymore. Hatred is a burden, and I don't want to carry it for the rest of my life. What about Su Zixuan? I thought of Su Zixuan. Over the years, he would occasionally send me messages to update me on how he was doing. We maintained a distant friendship, but that was all. I don't hate him anymore, I said, but forgiving doesn't mean accepting again. Some people, once you've missed them, you've missed them. 10 years later, my autobiography, The Price of Justice, was published and became a bestseller. Many readers said that this book changed their worldview and taught them to fight for their own rights and interests. In the final chapter of the book, I wrote, looking back on these years, I want to thank the person who once hurt me. It was she who taught me what it means for good and evil to each receive their due, and what the power of justice is. Although the process was painful, the outcome was beautiful. I also want to thank those who once questioned me. It was they who helped me understand that standing up for justice can sometimes be lonely, but it is precisely this loneliness that makes justice seem even more precious. Finally, I want to say to everyone who is experiencing injustice, do not be afraid, do not back down. Justice may be late, but it will never be absent. As long as we persevere, light will eventually come. After the book was published, I received many letters from readers. One of them moved me especially. Attorney Jiang. I'm a girl who just started high school. Before, I was falsely accused of cheating by a classmate at school, and many people told me to let it go, but after reading your story, I decided to see it through to the end. Now the truth has come out, and the classmate who framed me has received the punishment they deserved. Thank you for teaching me what it means to uphold justice. Looking at letters like this, I know that my experiences have truly gained meaning now. I am no longer that helpless girl who was falsely accused in the classroom. I am a lawyer, a fighter who stands up for justice. I use my own experience to tell the world, malicious false accusations are not a trivial matter, and justice needs someone to stand by it, and the girl who once wanted to ruin me has now become a kind person, atoning through her own actions. Perhaps this is the best ending. The wicked received punishment and redemption, while the good gained growth and rewards. In the end, the scales of justice were balanced. Epilogue. Many years later, when I had already become a judge of the Supreme People's Court, I would often think back to that afternoon that changed my life. If I had chosen to compromise back then, chosen to forgive, what would the outcome have been? Maybe Lin Shiyu would have continued hurting others, maybe I would have lived forever in the shadow of false accusations, maybe the world would have lost one more voice fighting for justice, but history has no ifs. I chose to stand firm, chose to fight, chose to defend my dignity with the power of the law. This choice changed my life, and it changed the lives of many others. The current Clean Slate project has developed into an international public welfare organization with branches all over the world, helping innocent people who have been maliciously falsely accused, and I, too, have grown from a student who was falsely accused into a judge who fights for justice. Sometimes, justice needs someone to uphold it, to fight for it, and to pay the price, because only in this way will the world become a better place. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. I woke up to find myself reborn to the night before my engagement party. I touched my smooth, unblemished face and quickly got out of bed. Rushing to the mirror, the reflection showed a person who, though not a top beauty, had delicate skin, bright eyes, and white teeth, exactly how I looked at 24, before that nightmare happened. My name is Chen Anren, and tomorrow is my engagement party with my boyfriend. We had been dating for 3 years, and after overcoming numerous obstacles, including meeting each other's families, we finally set a wedding date. In my memory, the engagement party went exceptionally smoothly. Just a week after it was over, I was assaulted by my boyfriend's brother. During the struggle, he grabbed a nearby fruit knife and slashed my face. This incident was more than a nightmare. It was a bloody wound. I was desperate to report it to the police and expose this beast's unjust actions to everyone. However, my boyfriend casually stopped me, asking why I would bother reporting it. He said it would only bring shame to me if it got out, and then he tossed me 500 yuan as compensation. My innocence, my appearance, my entire future were all destroyed by that demon in a single moment, only to be exchanged for 500 yuan. My boyfriend's family has some influence in our local area, and I simply had no recourse. I tried every possible avenue to seek justice for myself, whether by reporting to the police or seeking help online, but no one stepped forward to assist me. The man I once believed loved me more than life itself coldly dismissed me with a remark about how I was the one who devalued myself. Otherwise, how could he have ever been interested in me, when I was at my most desperate and in need of comfort? The classic victim-blaming narrative. Every light-hearted word he spoke was like a knife stabbing into my heart, leaving no visible wounds but causing excruciating pain. I was engulfed in despair and agony for a whole month, and finally, one quiet night, I chose to jump off a building, thus ending my 24-year-old life, like a flower in full bloom. As I jumped off the building, I swore to myself that if I could have a second chance, I would make sure this family would suffer. I didn't expect the heavens to be watching, or maybe they really heard my wish, but I was given a second chance. I glanced at the calendar. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. is when my boyfriend and his family are coming. Xia Mu, Xia Lin, are you ready to face my revenge? The next morning, I dressed neatly and sat at home, waiting for their arrival. Before 10 o'clock, they arrived with a noisy procession. Leading the way, holding a bouquet of flowers, was my boyfriend, Xiamu. Following behind him, a slightly immature figure, was his younger brother, Xia Lin. I am one of the few people from my hometown who attended a prestigious university. I was introduced to Xiamu through someone. His family had good conditions, having made their fortune early on in the coal mining business, so they had high expectations for the education level of their future daughter-in-law. My academic achievements and appearance made me their top choice, and I've chosen you. Xiamu was brimming with confidence, striding over to me, thrusting the flowers into my hands, and then taking out the gold bracelet and necklace he had tucked in his pocket, one by one, to put them on me. Finally, he gave my face a big kiss and said with a satisfied smile, "We'll get married by the end of the year. Being able to marry you is the greatest fortune of my life." Xia Lin chimed in with a smile, "Watching you two show off your love is almost enough to fill me up. When will I ever meet a girl as amazing as my sister-in-law?" Facing the two brothers, I maintained an impeccable expression on my face, but no one knew that I was already feeling so disgusted that I wanted to vomit, even wanting to raise my hand to wipe my face hard, to erase the saliva mark left by Xiamu. My parents were also very satisfied with this marriage, and there were even quite a few video teams filming the engagement ceremony. I looked at their cameras, smiling until my face felt stiff. It wasn't until late at night that I finally breathed a sigh of relief, sitting in front of the mirror, removing the thick layer of makeup from my face, taking a deep breath, and suppressing the hatred in my heart. Since I have the opportunity to start over, I absolutely cannot waste it. The Xia family are not good people. They even use their local influence to bully others and are extremely arrogant. I need to find a way to obtain evidence of their crimes to report them. Only then can I truly seek revenge. After all, my own abilities are far too weak. I can only rely on myself, acting for a few days temporarily. I will definitely not show mercy once I gather enough evidence. I originally intended to wait and see, to catch them in their wrongdoing, but I didn't expect the debt related to Xia Lin to come knocking so quickly. It was a heavily pregnant girl, supported by her family. As she came to the door, a group of 5 or 6 people arrived in full force, such a large spectacle that it even startled me, and I hurried out to watch the commotion. The girl's father stood at the door and started yelling directly, "Xia, are you even human? You got my daughter pregnant and now you're hiding like a coward. Let me tell you, it's not happening. Either your family pays to settle this privately, or you marry her." There was no doubt that this was a romantic debt Xia Lin had incurred outside, but now the girl's father had come knocking on their door. Xia's father walked out with a stern face, first glancing at the girl's belly and then at the people they had brought with them, before coldly mocking, "Blame your daughter for belittling herself and being so careless that my son took advantage of her. This is also her child, so you can handle it however you want, but if you come to my doorstep causing trouble again, don't blame me for being impolite." The girl's father clenched his teeth. "Are you even human, you beast? My daughter was ruined by your family, and now you don't even want to take responsibility, do you?" The girl's father waved his hand with authority. "I'm putting it out here today. If you don't give us a satisfactory solution today, we're not leaving. We'll also make sure everyone in this place knows what kind of people the Xia family really are. You think you can avoid responsibility? Let me tell you, it's impossible." Seeing the situation escalate, Xiamu hurried out as well, but Xia Lin never showed up from the beginning. Xia's father was a man who had seen his fair share of big events, and he wasn't the least bit afraid. He immediately turned to Xiamu and said, "Call your uncles and have them come over. I want to see who has the guts to cause trouble at our old Xia family's doorstep." Xia's father's voice was full of vigor. Soon, the people Xiamu called arrived, with 3 minivans pulling up in quick succession. Out came a group of young, strong men, each carrying a baseball bat. Their imposing stance was quite intimidating, giving off the vibe of a mob. "Today, I want to see who has the audacity to cause trouble at the old Xia family's doorstep. I advise you to wise up and leave quickly, otherwise, don't blame me if my bat doesn't see where it's going." With your group of old, weak, and sickly folks, causing any real trouble would only backfire, wouldn't it? One of them brandished the iron rod in his hand, stepping forward with a provocative tone, shouting aggressively. I hid to the side, as if already seeing what kind of fight was about to unfold. Taking advantage of their attention being focused on the argument, I quickly hid to the side, quietly taking out my phone from my pocket and turning on the recording function. I aimed the camera at them. After the last incident of violation, I was constantly blocked by Xiamu, and it wasn't until the 3rd day that I finally found out, but by then it was too late, all the evidence had disappeared, and even if I cried out for justice, there was no evidence to prove my grievance. But now, the evidence has been delivered to my doorstep. The power of the Xia family was accumulated bit by bit from running a building materials factory in the early years, and they kept a large group of professional enforcers, engaging in activities that straddled both legal and illegal realms, seeing so many people called over by the Xia family. But the girl's father seemed to be truly blinded by rage, not afraid at all, but even louder. What era are we in now? You still play these mafia tricks? Just wait, this matter won't be settled so easily. My daughter almost became infertile because of this. You people from the Xia family are all spineless cowards, pushing all the blame onto her. Before he could finish his words, Xia's father slapped him across the face. My son, choosing your daughter is a blessing for your family. Now you dare to push your luck. Hit him. As the words were spoken, everyone in the van rushed towards them, and the two groups quickly engaged in a fierce brawl. However, one group consisted of professional enforcers armed with steel rods and baseball bats, while the other was made up of ordinary civilians. The outcome was already predetermined. By the time they dispersed, the girl's father was already lying on the ground, blood streaming from the back of his head, with no way to tell if he was alive or dead. At this point, someone finally panicked and hurriedly called for an ambulance. A perfectly good engagement party was ruined by this incident. However, one thing puzzled me. I remember that such a thing didn't happen in my previous life. Could it be that because I've been reborn, it caused a butterfly effect, so some things have deviated from the original course? I carefully saved the video, only to look up and see Xiamu walking in. Today is our engagement party, but someone else came to cause trouble, especially a romantic debt he incurred outside. He looked at me with a complex expression, and ran. I'm sorry to have made you witness a joke. You know, my brother is currently very playful and can't settle down at all. Very playful? I looked at him in astonishment. Your brother got someone pregnant, and their parents came to seek an explanation, yet you beat them up. Such a terrible incident. And in your eyes, it's just a matter of being very playful. I know that Xiamu has always loved his younger brother since childhood, wanting to pluck the stars from the sky to give to him. I know there are sister Khan and little sister Khan in the world, but this is the first time I've seen a little brother Khan, especially with this matter now blown out of proportion. Xia Lin hasn't shown his face at all, like a turtle hiding in its shell. Considering his age, he's already 23 this year. No sense of responsibility, and unwilling to take accountability, always hiding behind his family whenever something goes wrong. These are the most direct consequences of the excessive indulgence from the Xia family. As I expected, Xiamu once again defended his younger brother. At his age, who doesn't love to play? People only mature and settle down after getting married. At the very least, he should take responsibility. He almost caused someone to be infertile for life. Shouldn't he even offer an apology? I was quite angered by his words. What does he mean by only maturing and settling down after getting married? Xiamu looked at me with a stern face. Today is our engagement day, and I didn't expect such an unlucky thing to happen. Since everything has been resolved, why are you still holding on to his mistakes? You are going to be his sister-in-law in the future, and even if he gets into trouble, you should stand up for him first, not criticize him here. He's young and inexperienced, and his family favors him a bit. Is that wrong? I stood up in anger and retorted directly. On a small scale, this is just a child, but on a larger scale, this is a matter of life. I really don't understand. He's already so old. Why do you still go out of your way to protect him? What if one day he commits murder or arson? Will you also stand in front of him immediately and make excuses, saying he's young and doesn't know any better? Seeing that I was genuinely angry, Xiamu immediately softened his tone and ran. I've been busy all day, running around, and I'm very tired. I don't want to argue with you over things that haven't even happened. I told you, Xia Lin is just a child at heart. He wouldn't do something like that. I shook my head and took a step back. If I hadn't been reborn from my previous life, I might have really believed Xiamu's protection of his younger brother, but I was a real victim. The pain of being violated, the despair of being threatened, and the countless times I sought help in vain, ultimately resorting to jumping off a building to end my own filthy existence. Those moments still haunt me like nightmares every day. I was truly terrified. I removed the gold necklace I had just put on today, along with the gold bracelet on my wrist. Let's just forget it. This engagement is over. Xiamu's eyes immediately turned red, and he quickly came over, gripping my wrist tightly, his voice rising several pitches. Just because of this one thing, you want to break off our engagement? I didn't do anything wrong. So why should you break off our engagement with me? He gripped me tightly, his hand like an iron vice, holding me firmly in place. I looked directly into his eyes and said, because after we get married, I'm going to be part of your family, living with all of you. I'm scared of your family. The girl's parents came to make a fuss, but they just wanted an explanation. If you had at least offered some compensation and apologized, this matter could have been resolved. But what did you do? You used thug tactics to suppress them by force. Now the person is in the hospital, his life hanging in the balance. And your family still thinks he deserved it for daring to challenge them. Who would dare to marry into such a family? I took a deep breath and continued speaking. Today I am an outsider, watching this play, but what if one day I become the one you bully in your family, who will stand up for me? I fear that such a thing might happen to me one day, so I would rather end this relationship. Siamu glared at me with clenched teeth, his anger boiling over as he said, as long as I'm here, such a thing will never happen. You know how much I love you, so it's impossible. Why do you always imagine yourself in these bad situations? But these are not fantasies, they are my truly tragic fate. Forget it. I mustered all my strength to push Siamu away. My wrist was already red and bruised from his grip at the moment. The most urgent matters to handle were not only the issue of our engagement being called off, but also the injury of the girl's father. This was a good starting point. I had recorded a video of them committing the crime, but if I could bring the girl to testify with me, the impact would be even greater. Siamu said all these things about how much he loved me, and I believed his sweet words in my previous life, but after that incident, he didn't show the slightest bit of pain. Instead, he desperately tried to stop me from reporting it and condemning his brother. In his eyes, I would never be as important as his brother. I had already accepted this reality long ago, so his current words about how much he loves me only make me feel more disgusted and more determined in my thoughts. Siamu took a deep breath, the veins on his neck bulging, his fists clenched tightly, as if he were desperately trying to suppress his anger. Bloodshot eyes and a sinister expression made me tremble involuntarily, and I took a step back instinctively. For some reason, I had a feeling that Siamu's fist would land on my face at any moment. There is an inherent difference in strength between men and women, and if Siamu insisted on fighting, I wouldn't stand a chance. Indeed, he was glaring at me with a sinister look, cornering me. I'm giving you one last chance to take back what you just said. You know I have countless ways to keep you imprisoned by my side for the rest of your life, I said without hesitation. Even if I were to die, I would never marry into the Xia family again. This statement completely enraged Siamu. In an instant, he reached out and tightly gripped my neck. The light from behind him cast a particularly sinister and terrifying glow on his face, especially with his twisted expression resembling a vengeful ghost crawling out of hell. There was no difference at all. I frantically slapped at his hands, struggling with all my strength, but his two large hands were like iron clamps, tightly gripping my neck. The diminishing air quickly caused a crushing, heart-wrenching pain in my lungs. I treated you so well, I loved you so much, how could you break off our engagement over such a trivial matter? My face was already turning a purplish blue, yet I still tried to break free. Siamu, let go. But at that moment, someone suddenly burst in and saved my life. It was Xia Lin, rushing in. It's over, something happened to Big Brother. That old man was beaten into the ICU, and whether he can survive is uncertain. Siamu abruptly let go of his hand. I slumped to the ground, clutching my neck with my hand, struggling to breathe deeply as tears and snot mixed into a mess, and my chest ached unbearably. If it weren't for Xia Lin suddenly bursting in just now, I might really have been strangled to death here. Now I'm certain, this whole family is insane and has a severe tendency toward violence. Xia Lin didn't even look at me but hurriedly said to his brother, "Brother, things have escalated now, what should we do?" I only wanted to teach them a lesson, but I never expected it to turn deadly. Although I was standing in the corner, I clearly saw that the stick hit the old man right on the back of his head. Not to mention an elderly person, even a young man wouldn't be able to withstand such a blow. He's now in the ICU, and whether he survives is uncertain, Siamu said sternly, showing some dissatisfaction. It's just a small matter, what's there to be afraid of? Just spend more money to smooth things over with everyone. Even if the old man dies, no one will trace it back to us. Hearing this, Xia Lin's heart finally settled. I was almost scared to death just now. If something really happened to the old man, I would have ended up in jail. Now I realize, who in the entire Jiangxing would dare to meddle in our Xia family's affairs? Stay at home for a while to avoid attention, and don't go wandering around. After all, you didn't participate in the actual fight, so even if there's any blame, it won't fall on you. There are plenty of thugs involved. Just push one out as a scapegoat. Siamu finally turned to look at me. After giving these instructions, he crouched down in front of me, looking at me as if I were an insignificant ant on the ground. With just a slight lift of his foot, he could make me disappear from this world. That contemptuous gaze sent shivers down my spine. This was the closest I've ever been to death. Even jumping off a building in my moments of despair didn't scare me this much. And ran. I'm giving you one last chance. Do you choose to break up with me or get married? Get married. I've learned my lesson. Just now, my attitude wasn't very good. I was startled by this situation and took out my anger on you. We've been together for so long. How could I bear to part with you? Everything I said was just angry words. Don't take it to heart. Siamu nodded in satisfaction upon hearing the answer he wanted, then reached out and pulled me up. I knew you were the most obedient and smartest. Only you truly understand my heart. Siamu was quite good-looking, and when he was younger, he didn't know how many young girls he had seduced outside. The two brothers' ways of handling things were identical, neither rejecting nor taking responsibility, but when things got out of hand, they would suppress the matter with 2 sticks and continue living their glamorous lives. The only pity was that I only learned about all these things after I died. Siamu didn't let me go home that night. As usual, he held me tightly from behind. I pretended to be obedient and leaned against his chest, closing my eyes. Only when the even breathing of the person beside me reached my ears did I carefully slip out of his embrace. The moonlight was beautiful that night. With the moonlight outside the window, I could clearly see Siamu's face. I had given him my true heart and truly loved him, wanting to spend a lifetime with him, but who would have thought that fate could be so cruel? At this moment, seeing him so defenseless, I almost wanted to go straight to the kitchen and grab a knife. Only then could I vent the hatred in my heart. My last shred of reason prevailed, suppressing this insane thought. I couldn't throw away the rest of my life for such a despicable person. Besides, the family I want to avenge is the Xia family as a whole. Compared to Siamu, Xia Lin is even more deserving of death. I didn't sleep all night, my mind racing with plans for revenge. The video I have now is the most important, and the only evidence I possess. But this alone is not enough. The next morning, I got up early as usual and continued to show concern for Siamu. This indeed dispelled his suspicions. After breakfast, he forcefully put the bracelet and necklace back on me. Stay by my side. I won't treat you badly. I have some other things to deal with these 2 days, so it might be a couple of days before I can pick you up to go out and play. I nodded vigorously. It's okay, we can go out and play together whenever you have time. At first, everything was agreed upon. After our engagement, we would travel to the Maldives. Yesterday, Siamu made it sound like a trivial matter, but it couldn't be resolved so easily. In today's society, where can such occurrences of gangsterism be tolerated? Even a casual post on the internet can stir up massive public outcry. He's now busy cleaning up after his brother, leaving him with no more time for me, which gives me some relief. After leaving the Xia family, I went straight to the hospital. I found out which ward the old man was in. As soon as I pushed the door open, I saw a frail young woman sobbing loudly by the bedside. The old man on the bed wore a breathing mask, and the nearby monitor displayed his weak vital signs. Although he had survived the surgery, it was clear that his time was almost up. I walked up and patted her on the shoulder, which visibly startled her. Her eyes swollen like walnuts, she stared at me with full vigilance, even grabbing a fruit knife from the side. Who are you? Another envoy sent by the Xia family to persuade me. I shook my head. I'm just like you, a victim of the Xia family's persecution. I know what happened between you and them, so I wanted to ask if you'd be willing to join forces with me to seek revenge against the Xia family. Li Muzi tightly gripped the knife in her hand. Why should I believe what you say? The Xia family has been harassing me non-stop these past 2 days, trying to get me to settle this matter. What if you're working with them? I shook my head again. I would never be associated with those disgusting scumbags from the Xia family. I was supposed to have a very happy marriage, but the day before the engagement, I was violated by that beast Xia Lin. With no way out, the Xia family blocked me from reporting it, just as they're doing to you now. Due to their power, I had no options, and just when I was at my most desperate, fate led me to learn about your situation. Reliving the pain of my past life was like tearing open a scab, causing the wound to bleed profusely once again. The idea of being reborn is just too absurd, so I half-jokingly told the whole story. I just want to send the Xia family straight to hell. I don't believe that with just a single building materials factory, they can truly become the local overlords of the entire Jiangqing. with their connections in both legal and illegal circles, the Xia family can indeed be called local overlords now. Ask around Jiangqing, and you'll find no one bold enough to offend them. If you curse the Xia family in front of others, by the next morning, someone will definitely come with a stick to smash your place. The people of the entire Jiangqing had long been filled with deep resentment towards the actions of the Xia family. Perhaps it was the intense pain and hatred in my eyes that made Li Muzi hesitate for a moment before ultimately choosing to believe my words. She turned her head to glance at the elderly man lying on the bed, and tears uncontrollably fell from her eyes once more. What I regret most now is telling these things to my father, knowing his character. He couldn't bear to see his precious daughter treated so badly. He immediately went to confront them, and now he's been hospitalized. The doctor says his condition is very poor. Even if he survives the surgery, he won't have many days left. It's all my fault. If only I had swallowed my grievances, Li Muzi said, and in the end, she couldn't help but burst into loud sobs, taking all the blame upon herself. But she was innocent, and the old man was innocent as well. The biggest scoundrels in this whole affair were the Xia family. I hugged him tightly, patted his shoulder, and gently comforted him. It's okay, now that we're together, we'll definitely find a way to send the Xia family to hell. I blocked all contact information of the Xia family and also switched to a new phone card. I stayed in the hospital with Li Muzi. Her emotional state is very poor. She hasn't eaten or drunk anything for days, staying by her father's side, her eyes already swollen like a rabbit's. However, she brought me some good news. It turns out that last night, when the Xia family came to coerce and bribe him into settling the matter, he secretly recorded the conversation for us. This is another great opportunity to turn the situation around. After obtaining his consent, I directly posted the video on the internet, and even topped up a significant amount of money to ensure it gained enough attention. Moreover, I also searched for some larger official accounts on the internet and tried to submit the video to them. The account we used to post the video was new and might not attract a lot of attention, but if it were an official account, that could be different. After trying over 100 official accounts, one finally agreed to help share our video. The account had millions of followers, but it was based in Chuncheng, our neighboring city, not Jiangqing. All arrested according to the law. This video, once posted online along with the official account's broadcast, has garnered an expectedly high number of views. It was like dropping 2 drops of ice water into a hot oil pan, instantly causing a huge uproar. I've really seen it all now. I never thought there would still be such a mafia in today's society. They're really going all out with the beating. Does anyone know what happens in the follow-up video? The police in Jiangqing, shouldn't they do something? This has gotten completely out of hand. He slept with someone's daughter, got her pregnant, and then refused to take responsibility, and now he even dares to take the initiative to start a fight. Animals like him deserve at least 10 years in prison. Kick me when there's an update. I really want to know how this family of animals will end up in hell. It's really disgusting. Another day of fear and hatred towards men. I looked at the endless comments under the video and a satisfied smile appeared on my face. The situation has escalated to the point where it's finally gaining some attention. Under my arrangement, Li Muzi posted a video of her father lying in a hospital bed with a breathing mask on the internet, and also exposed the recording of the Xia family threatening her earlier. All the evidence was solid and was released all at once. Eager netizens flooded the Jiangqing police with messages, and some savvy netizens even managed to trace and find the phone numbers of Xia Mu and Xia Lin, along with all their contact information, which they posted online in one go. What awaited them was the online backlash of millions of netizens, and I wasn't idle during this time. I knew that only by completely eradicating the Xia family, this cancer, would this matter be truly over. The internet has no memory. Once the dust settles, if the Xia family realizes that I was behind this, the abyss that awaits me will be inevitable. Distracted by these issues, Xia Mu hasn't had the chance to come after me. I still remember the multiple lives the Xia family has taken over the past 2 years, and I visited each of them one by one. Indeed, all the victims, upon hearing that I was there to help them seek justice, immediately vented their grievances, recounting everything that had happened to them. I recorded these into short videos and uploaded them all. When the wall falls, everyone pushes. As long as this matter reaches a sufficient level of public attention, the Xia family, no matter how powerful they are, will not escape punishment. Under the influence of online public opinion, these videos quickly spread across the country, even reaching some small remote cities in the northwest, where people became aware of the Xia family of Jiangqing. The police quickly intervened in the matter, and upon investigation, they found that the dirty deeds behind the Yi family were far more than just bullying men and women. Girls who had been bullied by Xie Lian and Xie Mu before began to speak out, and even their family's construction materials factory was soon implicated. An anonymous report claimed that their factory's substandard materials had caused houses to collapse within a month, killing a family of 3. This incident dates back 10 years ago, when the internet wasn't as developed. Now, it has been dug up by netizens. The situation has escalated like an avalanche, and no one can control the direction of public opinion anymore. I moved to another city and hid there for a month before daring to return to Jiangqing, of course. During that time, I was also keeping an eye on the online public opinion trends. Li Muzi held a live broadcast, with the background being the intensive care unit. I recounted everything from beginning to end, choking up countless times when emotions ran high. Jiangqing is just an ordinary second-tier small city, and even in the summer, it attracts quite a few tourists. No one would have thought that within such a city, there exists a tumor like the Xie family. When I returned home, my parents were anxiously watching me. They were afraid that during my time in hiding, I might have been targeted by the Xie family, but fortunately, Xie Mu did not harass my family, perhaps because he currently has no time to attend to me. The second day after I returned home, another piece of good news came. The entire Xie family was arrested according to the law, and they await their trial. When Xie Mu was detained, I went to see him once. I don't know what he has been through during this time, but he has rapidly lost weight, with sunken eye sockets, and is now just skin and bones. He had already realized that the mastermind behind all this was me, someone he hated so much that he wanted to rush over and kill me through the glass wall, but his hands were still cuffed, and as soon as he moved, the 2 police officers guarding him pinned him down firmly in his seat. He glared at me, his voice breaking as he asked, Why did you do this?" I looked at him calmly, the overwhelming hatred in my heart surging and fermenting once again. In truth, only I know that the only way to truly let go is for this entire family to die. Merely letting them spend the rest of their lives in prison is still too merciful. I casually tucked a strand of hair behind my ear and calmly recounted to him everything that happened in my previous life. Of course, to avoid causing panic, I only said it was a nightmare I had once. Xie Mu screamed in agony, "I treated you so well, and you're destroying our entire family over a dream. Chen Anren, you're a white-eyed wolf, an ungrateful wretch. Is this a nightmare? I know it in my heart. Anyway, your family has already received the retribution you deserved. For the rest of your life, you'll reflect in prison." This was the last thing I said to Xie Mu before I rushed out of the police station. Standing in the sunlight, I was already uncontrollably weeping, my hands trembling unconsciously, when I saw Xie Mu and Xie Lin being detained with my own eyes. The hatred in my heart finally found its best outlet. Heaven gave me another chance at life, and this time, I finally managed to do something right, avoiding the tragedy of the previous time. This time, I acted before anyone could react. I released the video first. If it had been like the last life, he would have already intercepted my video traffic, and no matter how many complaint videos I made, they wouldn't have gained any attention. Li Muzi's father eventually passed away. On the day of the funeral, I went to see her. Those days of fighting side by side had already made her consider me her best friend. I still remember that day when it rained heavily, and he threw himself into my arms, crying like a child, repeating over and over in my ear that she no longer had a father. I could only hold her tightly, and not a single comforting word could escape my lips. I didn't know how to console someone who had lost a loved one, so I chose to silently accompany her. But fortunately, the mastermind behind it all would also be accompanying them on their descent into hell. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.